¿Qué pasa, mi gente? What's up? How are you doing today on this lovely, lovely day? I am your host and producer, Yessie Rodriguez. Welcome to another episode, otro episodio de Hoy En Día TV. I'm going to bring onto the stage my amazing, lovely co-host, Dr. CC, the Actionist. It'll just be us today because Nadine is working. She's on a booking. So, hi, CC. Hello.
Hey. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Woo-hoo. Making it happen, making it do what it does. Okay.
Absolutely. Lovely, beautiful day in the neighborhood. So it's been a week since I saw you. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing good. I am doing so good. You'll be happy to know that I have started this detox. And so detox has been the word of the day in my home, right? So we're detoxing. My husband detoxing. I'm detoxing. My brother's here. And so he too is like doing a whole little detox. So it's going pretty good right now. Cause I was like looking for all the side effects and all that kind of stuff. Nothing except I just feel sleepy all the time. So maybe that's just, I don't know. I guess you kind of just feel a little sluggish until stuff start to kind of move and groove. And then you kind of get that burst of energy. So it's going pretty good. And it's not too bad.
So when you say detox, what kind of detox are you doing? What is it, like liquid? Like were you drinking a tea or are you doing something specific?
Yeah, so something very specific. So we purchased this holistic kit from one of the nurse practitioners, and it's called Des Bio. And so it's like these liquid drops. And so you have to, it's like a whole regimen, a calendar and everything that you got to do, like 30 drops or either 10, it's 30 drops total for the day, but you can do like 10 drops under your tongue, throughout the day, or you can just put it all kind of like in a bottle of water or whatnot. So when I took the first 3, because it's like 6 tinctures kind of in this bottle, they taste like straight up alcohol, like rubbing alcohol, like burn your mouth, hot alcohol, like what? And then you start taking the other one. The other one, it doesn't have any kind of taste or any effects. And then you have to take like this powder form that you mix and shake to kind of help. It's like I think of it like it was called binders, right? So kind of like a glue. So when like things are coming out your body, it's like a magnet. So it pulls and sticks all the bad stuff to it and then just kind of excretes that out of your body. And then of course you have to eat, a really healthy diet. So tomorrow I'll start the diet part of it. So tomorrow I eat normally, of course, like no sweets and things like that, but no starches tomorrow. So no starches for the next 2 days. And then I take like a couple of capsules. So it's this whole system. I paid like for the system, it's like $600. It's expensive, but I did like a whole body scan. Well, we had the nurse on, Kanina, and she was talking about some of those things. So I did get with her and started everything. And so far, so good, because this is really like for our health. So this is to help with different things going on with the different organ systems in the body. And so it's really detoxing everything from your brain to your respiratory system, cardiovascular, like everything. So we're going to kind of see how it goes and see if this really improves my health. And then as you all know already, like my husband, he battles with diabetes type 2. And so we're going to see if this is going to be able to help him as well.
Wow, that is impressive. And I salute you all. That I know is tough, right, to do, especially just listening to you from like the start to the end of the process that you have to take just to do this 30-day detox. And especially around the holidays when there's a lot of different foods and sweets and just everything.
I know. I'm like, what were we thinking, right? What were we thinking? Because, the stuff had came in during Thanksgiving. She goes, you might want to start after Thanksgiving. So we were like, okay. I'm like, Christmas is right over. But I didn't want to put it off any longer. Like my body, I feel within me, and my husband too, he was talking that, we just feel like we need to just get clean. Like our food is so toxic, and it's just, it's like going into the grocery store. It's like you got to have a whole MD just to read the labels and make sure things are good and healthy. You don't know what is food these days. And so our bodies was like, it's like craving this thing. And so of course, staying hydrated, even with water, right? Even with water, all waters aren't good waters. And I think I maybe have said something about that on some of our past shows. And you got to like research. I'm like, this is just too much. I just want to get back to the days where real food was real food and real water was real water. And then you're putting good things in your body, So yeah, but I'm glad we're doing it.
Good, me too. And I'm glad you mentioned food because I recently came across a social media post that talks about food. And it was a comparison of McDonald's foods here in the United States compared to Japan's McDonald's. And so there was two influencers. One bought a Big Mac here in the States, left it out for 30 days just to see how, what can we expect from this Big Mac from McDonald's in the United States be left out for 30 days. And I want to say he's from like Oklahoma or something, some state in the US. Japan, the influencer in Japan, they like collaborated forces. He bought a McDonald's Big Mac from Japan. And 30 days, they came back together. They did this video. Big difference. So Japan's Big Mac started growing like hair and mold and all sorts of stuff. Which is weird. And he showed it. I'm like, why does a Big Mac grow hair? That's weird. That's different, right? But here in the States, the Big Mac looked like it was about to go down the runway because it looked like it was still brand new. Like nothing happened. That's scary, sis.
Very scary. Very scary, and I'm waiting on Kennedy here, right? He's like big on, vaccines and all the stuff with our foods. And I haven't seen, since he's now in office, I haven't seen anything change here in the US. And I'm like, I was really excited about him coming on board, and saying, hey, get these toxins, these poisons out of our food. We don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Ban the stuff just like they have it banned in Europe. We should be. This is even crazy that we even have to have this kind of conversation. Like, this blows my mind. I was sitting and I was thinking about it. And I was like, this is like the dumbest conversation ever that any human being should have. Like, is my food real? You know what I'm saying?
I will say this though, every time I hear the word television, I hear your voice because I always remember that when you say we're telling somebody's vision, right? Television. And I love that because it reminds me of those like futuristic movies where we've seen many times where there's segments of like 3D printed foods that you see being captured in the movies and television, right? They're telling somebody's vision. So they're telling us without telling us that our food is not really food. It's 3D printed something. But I want to know, like, when it's 3D printed, what is it being printed from? Like, that's another deep dive discussion that we're going to have to like.
Yes,
it is 3D. What exactly is in it?
Right, exactly. And I saw it on it was a news segment. I think it was NBC. It was on one of the, the popular, news, programs out there. But they showed the factory where they said, this is the new cow farm. And it was just all these machines and they were just printing like steaks. Like, hey, he was like, how do you want it? It was crazy. And they were printing this stuff. And I'm like, do you people not see anything wrong with this? Like, do you not see anything? And my brother, he just came from overseas in the Netherlands, and he goes, well, I'll show you how to tell if your rice is good or not, because we have some rice here. Because I went through my whole pantry, like, a year or two ago, and we got rid of everything bioengineered. I mean, it was tons of stuff, tons, right? And we got rid of everything, so as we're learning more, we're going to do better. So he was like, oh, you just put the rice, heat it up in a skillet. And he goes, you'll see if it melts, because if it melts, then it's plastic, right? Or not. So I have some jasmine rice because I did, ask me basmati rice, because I learned on Dr. Oz years ago in the arsenic levels, because there's arsenic in rice, and that's bad, right? But depending on where rice is grown throughout the US or wherever, right? Some areas have lower arsenic levels. And California was one of those areas for the rice fields and things. They have lower arsenic levels. And so, because you're just trying to get as least, as you can from these things. So my brother put our rice in the frying pan and it didn't melt. So he's like, okay, this is real. Like, that's good to know. Okay. But it's crazy that you got to like run scientific tests in your kitchen before you cook for your family, just to test to see if food is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, this really bothers me to my core, because these are conversations that, to me, just, I'm a little, common girl, just, I don't know a whole lot, but the things that I do know, I'm like, this conversation it's foreign to my ears. My brain, I'm really trying to comprehend. And this is so foreign to me, because I'm like, why would we be having these conversations about our food other than like, hey, this food is too fatty. This food is going to have too much cholesterol. This food, too much salt, too much, like that kind of stuff, right? And then I can make an educated decision. Okay, I'm not going to eat, this every day, all day. But when I have to now determine, is my food even real? What are all the on the packaging labels? What is all of this stuff first and foremost? Because I can barely pronounce all of the ingredients. And you're just like, what is it? And it gives me a headache. And I got to be honest with you, Yessie. I go into the supermarkets nowadays and like I get a little bit of anxiety because I'm stressed because sometimes, you just want to go in, get what you need to get, and you want to get out and go. But I got to now stay in this supermarket longer than I intended to, because if I see something new on the shelves, now I got to flip it over. I got to read, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, who has time for that?
Yes. And I feel your anxiety. I share your pain too, because I find myself feeling that way as well, feeling a little overwhelmed. My son, he loves pizza. And so all the popular brands, if you look at the back, it does say bioengineered food products. So what I've had to do is like I found myself one day last week before going on the trip to stopping at 3 different grocery stores because pretty much 2 of them, there was no product that didn't say that. And then finally I found one where it said made in Italy and it didn't say bioengineered food product. And I'm like, ooh, okay, I can trust this one here. But it took me to do 3 different grocery stores.
Who has time for that?
And because I want to be a good parent, because I want my son to eat healthy, I did that. Right. I made that. I agree. I don't have that time, but I did. I made that sacrifice because I want to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can, so that he eats good, right?
Yeah.
And so for the viewers and listeners watching, this is very important for you all as well. Start being mindful, if you're not already mindful, of the foods that you and your families are consuming. Right. Look at the labels. If it says bioengineered food product, that has a bioengineered food product. Also, high fructose corn syrup. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of the reasons why a good amount of individuals have different diabetes and health issues because of high fructose corn syrup. Right. And those are just the 2. There's other labels that you should be mindful of as well, but just do your best to start eating healthier because this is your temple that God blessed you with, and it is your responsibility, your right to take care of it the best way that you can.
Yep. And hydrogenated, that's one of those other fancy terms that you see on there. And anything that you see that says enriched, like nothing is enriched. You think it's a play, to kind of get your brain like, oh, it's enriched with something good. Like, no, it took all the good stuff out and they put all the bad stuff in, but they use the term enriched. It kind of reminds me of the military. When you get in trouble, they say you have been awarded. Time in jail. All right. Okay. Bread and water. This is your reward here. You've been awarded these things. You're like, huh, but this is punishment. Wait a minute. This. What? No, that don't go together. Right. You've been awarded that. So the same thing. It says enriched, leave it. Because they've taken all the good stuff out and they've enriched it with a bunch of craziness. So yeah, absolutely. But your health. And when you said that, a little play on words, it was like, we're here to consume our food. If we're not good consumers about what we're putting in our body, then our food will consume us. And it is. And we see that consumption in our health, right? We see it in things like diabetes. We see it in high blood pressure. We see it in things, cancers, honestly, truly cancers that are showing up, right? And killing us and making us sick. And a lot of the stuff is just because it's not real food, that kind of thing. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you make a good point. And so even with that as well, we're speaking on stress and foods, but for those who are not aware, this is a holiday month, right? We started at the end of November. Now we're here in December. And a lot of family households, believe it or not, they're dealing with their own type of stress because the holidays in general, yes, they're beautiful times, but a lot of families do feel the stress because of the financial aspect of it, right? Now you have to fork out extra money on buying food, but not only that, because you have to prep for company coming over if you are having company over, or obviously feeding your family, but now you have to buy gifts and you possibly are traveling. So these are all extra expenses that a lot of people are facing today. And so with that in mind, we're here to remind you that although you feel that stress, know your limits. It's okay to know your limits. Stick to something that's realistic to you and your family. Don't feel like you have to impress anybody because it's about you and your day-to-day, right? And so make sure to set those boundaries and be realistic. Stick to those boundaries. I know we had a recent guest here that spoke about finances, right? And those boundaries. And even if you find yourself in that situation, you can visit Shanae to have a chat with Shanae, our prior guest, to help you get back into the swing of things, into a healthier financial situation. So just wanted to share that reminder since we were talking about just foods and stress and the holidays are here. So that's just a friendly reminder for those. Also, impaired driving. I know a lot of people get excited. They may get a little bit more intoxicated than what they're supposed to. First, please do not drive if you are feeling drunk, if you're feeling intoxicated, if you are seen like double dizzy, like even if you've had one drink, just don't drive. Call yourself an Uber, call yourself a Lyft, ask a friend or whoever, hey, I'll pay you $10 if you can drop me off. Just please be safe. Reserve a hotel. If there's a hotel nearby, right? Do RSVP, reserve a hotel room. Like there's so many different alternatives. Why? Because one, your life matters. Two, others people's lives matter, right? When you're driving intoxicated and impaired, you're affecting you, but you're also affecting others around you. So just be cautious. Just be cautious. And I'm sharing that because this is Impaired Driving Prevention Month here in December. And I just wanted to share those reminders with you. Cece, did you have any reminders to share to the audience and listeners?
Yeah, I'm definitely happy you mentioned about the impaired driving because you just got to always have a plan, or always have a plan in place. I'm always saying be prepared, right? And again, it's not just about you. It's about other people, because other people are out there doing the right thing. They're trying to get home safely to their families. And if you're out there being that person that's being irresponsible and drinking while you drive, well, shame on you. So I hope that you listen to the words here that Yessie has already put out, and do not drink and drive. There's just so many options to prevent all of that. The other thing I wanted to mention was SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So during the holidays, a lot of people will experience, anxieties and stressors and things of that nature. And sometimes it's just because of the seasons, right? These seasonal disorder. So you get a little sad inside, and that's okay. Know that it's okay, because typically, a lot of times the holiday season, people think, oh, it's a joyous time, and they think everybody's supposed to respond with laughter and joy, but that's not the case for a lot of people. Here in the US, here in the world, right? Sometimes, it may be the first year that, say you had a loved one pass away, and this might be the first holiday that you're without that person. So it's not happy and it's not joyous, and people are really sad. And so I say all of that to say this: when you see people out and you're shopping and stuff, and you're all jovial and, happy and being kind, they may not respond to you in turn. I say that because, they're going through something. So just be mindful of that. Not everybody is ho, 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 happy holidays, right? They're just not. So just be mindful of that. And if you do see somebody that does not seem as chipper as you may be, right, with your Santa hat on and all your glee and splendor, maybe, I don't know, just give a kind word, just to try to help bring some cheer to that person, or say, I'm really sorry that, you're not as happy, because people go through different things, right? I have a friend now, they're going to be experiencing their first holiday without their mom, right? And so that's tough. That's really, really tough. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, no, I really thank you for sharing that too, sis, because that's definitely important. And you're right. Not everyone's going to be jolly and happy and chipper, and just be mindful, considerate, show empathy, sympathy, and not even asking questions. Just say, hey, can I give you a hug? A simple touch can help right away, right? Because a lot of times it's one of those sensitive subjects where you're like, should I ask? Should I not ask? But hey, if you ask, hey, can I give you a hug? Yes. There's nothing wrong with that. They could either say yes or they could say no, right? Hey, a hug is a hug, human touch. Hey, but yes, thank you for sharing that. Definitely very, very important for sure. And so with that in mind, we are going to transition over to our special guest very soon. But before we do that, just a friendly reminder, we're going to do a quick commercial break for our sponsor. One of our sponsors here. So pull up the video here. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
A bold builder of people, purpose, and platforms, Girls with Gigs helps high performers and those desiring to achieve more shift mindsets and activate purpose. Whether it's career or leadership development, personal branding, or knowing your worth. In the job market, transformation has never been closer, because this is where purpose meets action and dreams become destiny. Book your free consultation today at www.girlswithgigs.com.
Book your free consultation today. Girlswithgigs.com. We got Dr. Cece, the actionist, who is ready to help you find your purpose. And hey, this is another creative idea. If you don't have a clue of what to get, whoever, hey, help them find their purpose. That's a good gift. I don't know about you, but I think that's great. So if you're out of ideas, just say, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Dr. Cece and I'm going to buy the Girls with Gigs Find a Purpose. Yes. All right. So we're going to transition over to our special guest. So get ready, familia. We have our guest coming back to visit us, who is a legend in leadership, education, and community empowerment. We're honored to welcome back Dr. Rory T. Edwards, a globally respected leadership coach, author, educator, and veteran with over 40 years of dedication to social impact, civic engagement, and uplifting our youth, which is definitely important, right? And so from New Britain, Connecticut to national stages, Dr. Edward has led the New Britain NAACP for over 11 years, advised professional athletes, taught at both K-12 and collegiate levels, co-founded charter schools across 6 states, collaborated with the Obama administration through his Once a Man, Twice a Child Academy, founded the Rory T. Edwards Group, empowering leaders and communities nationwide. His mission is building resilient communities, unifying people across all cultures, and igniting the next generation of leaders. This conversation is powerful, eye-opening, and absolutely motivating. So we are super, super excited to welcome back Dr. Rory T. Edwards. Welcome to Hoy En Día TV.
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
You just made me throw my dinner away, but great conversation.
Oh, well, sorry about that. Hey, you could have done it in. You could just eat and talk.
I thought I prepared something really healthy, and I guess based on I read the labels, so I just let the food join the labels, right, in the trash. And I guess I'll do a little water tonight or something. Maybe I gotta look at the bottle. Well, thank you for having me, ladies. Again, thank you. I really appreciate it and enjoy, always being a part of you all's conversation, because it's invigorating and absolutely necessary.
Thank you so much. So I know I read an amazing, robust bio, but who do you say Dr. Rory T. Edwards is in a nutshell?
My greatest claim to fame is being the father of 3 and a bonus 1 children, who I'm so very proud of to say that I'm just blessed to be their father. So all the other stuff is just some of the gifts that the Creator has put in your path, but you have to do it. You have to do it with a purpose, and I think what CC's program does is you do it with a purpose that also gives your legacy an opportunity to be proud of the foundation that you've laid. So that's what it's really all about for me. And that's who I am, really.
Nice. So since you were last with us, right, because we wanted to bring you back on for part 2, what's new with the Rory T. Edwards Group? What's going on with you?
We're in the midst of putting together some programming to really work on. Well, let me put it this way. I met a young lady in a group that I was part of that has a big platform called Bullying Buddy. And what's so phenomenal about that is that prior to, CC and I were classmates. Prior to starting the school, I had written a book on the anatomy of creating a bully. Because many people believe that, bullies are just somebody who pops up on the schoolyard or pops up in the neighborhood or pops up in different places. But bullies are really created through different phases of development. And so what I did a lot of research on how is this phenomena created? And hers is more or less on the suicide rates, especially of young men of color over the last few years, that has really increased. And so that's what really sort of got this started. And it was funny because I told her, I said, this book has been sitting here in the queue for some time now. And so sometimes we think that, our steps we're in charge of our steps, but our steps are truly ordered for a purpose bigger than us. And we have to recognize that and understand when that is supposed to happen. And so mine's is really about that. Why do people really create themselves in being sort of a bully? Or how do they create themselves, get to the point of committing suicide also? But that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm also putting together a platform of another program I have. Is called Raising Hope. And it's really about helping mothers to raise resilient kings. Because we have to realize that, there are single women out here who are doing a phenomenal job. But I also have to talk about the other side of the coin, which is not an attack on women. But I also have to say that on the other side of the coin, over the last 25 years, the prison population has gone up 400%. And so when you look at a lot of these young men and young women, you got to realize that they were raised by mothers. And it's not that mothers can't do their job, but some research that I just recently came across is that in most cases, mothers raise their daughters but protect their sons, right? And, so when you're protecting your son, you're not teaching him how to be resilient when he goes into the world and he comes out into the world with a lot of false identity. And this identity crisis is that he believes in certain things that society does not agree with him being or responding or reacting to. And so putting that together, we're trying to launch that to get a little bit more attention on that component also, because we understand that women are doing a phenomenal job, but we need to understand and make men stand up and recognize that only a man can teach a boy how to be a man. And so we have to get them to be more responsible in their roles also, and to close the generational conversations and have real conversations about real things and real topics. So those are a few things that I'm actually working on currently.
Fantastic. That's a lot. I mean, those statistics were astounding. And I too had done some reading. My husband actually brought it to my attention about those same stats about, males, the type of males that are in prison are typically from single family homes. And predominantly raised by single women, right? And again, not to take anything away, because we know that that's difficult, right? You got to work and try to do all these other things. And I mean, I'm married, and it's hard for me sometimes, like, because my husband travels a lot. So it's like I'm a single mom in the sense, for those few weeks or a month when he's gone, to try to, navigate everything. It's tough. I don't see how people do it. I wouldn't sign up for it. On my best day or even on my worst day, I just said we just want to do it because it is very difficult. So that 400%, that those numbers are staggering. So I'm so appreciative to the work that you're doing, right? To be able to help women understand and see how to raise male children, because I have all boys, and I can never ever teach them how to be a man. I can only give them what I have, and I'm a female. Right. And so I can only give them that. And I nurture them and I care for them, like if he gets a boo-boo, I'm like, oh, mommy's there. My husband's like, he's okay. You're all right. You're like, no, he's not. It's going to be okay. It's a whole different, and so sometimes, as women, we tend to think like, oh no. And the dad is like, they see something completely different. And I've seen how the kiddos have behaved differently. Like they'll look at me like, because they're waiting for me to make this whole theatrical kind of, and come to their aid, and they'll cry, and it's like a whole thing. And then I've seen how they are with their dad, and it's not that, they'll dad looking at them like they're not crying. They kind of get on the, I'm okay. It's different. I'm like, I desire to have that response that my husband gets, because sometimes it's exhausting even for moms to be like, okay, they're crying, I got to calm them down, and then we got to take care of the boo-boo, and we got to do all, it's like, and I got to give them some ice cream, and it's like a whole like drawn out thing. Yes, she understands, she has a boy too, so I know. That cut and dry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've seen the different. I'm sorry, but you've seen the different dynamics. Like if you understand what I'm talking about, because you're a man, so you've seen it on both spectrums. There. Go ahead, Yessie.
Well, Well, what I was going to say for me, because I've read on the fact that a lot of grown men who at one point obviously were young, right? They didn't feel that they could show emotion, or like they felt they had to be tough and macho all the time. And so what I'm trying to show my son is it's okay to have emotions. Like I want him to understand that. It's because based on what I've read and what I've done research on as well about raising a son, a good amount of men say that, you know, they felt like they couldn't really express. They had to put a persona or a shell on because that's how society views men, which is really sad and unfortunate that they feel that way. A good majority of them feel that way. So I want my son to understand that it's okay to have emotions. That's not going to make you any less of a man, right? As you get older, and that just finding that happy medium of just making sure that he understands, like, it's okay. Like how you feel, it's okay. Just how you deal with it is what matters most, right? You can't lash out and be like you have to do a woo-saw for a moment, breathe, decompress, clear your mind, and then figure out how to move forward. So
absolutely. And that's the mother's role. The mother's role is to instill all of those emotional sort of growth processes in the young boy. It depends on their environment. Some of the things that when I talk about my Empower 9 program, when I talk about one of the 9 pillars is the environmental. So it depends on where you're raising your child, right? If you're raising your child in a neighborhood where he has to be macho all the time, right? For him to go outside and survive, then that's what he's going to learn. But in the midst of that, you also put men in his life who understand that sometimes you're going to have to show emotion, right? I mean, I tell people, I cry at movies, and I tell people, please don't let these tears fool you, right? I cry, I said, because of the fact that tears are cleansing, right? It's cleansing. And so many times young men don't cry and they hold that emotion in, and then they explode. And so when they explode, they only get that one chance, and that one chance is sometimes the situation that makes them end up in prison because they've been holding that in so long because they don't know how to cleanse, right? And they're thinking that I can't let anybody see me cry. But when my father passed, I still cry about it. So, I mean, it doesn't make me less of a man, but the fact is that it's something that I had to learn also on my own. And it's also, again, who is instilling in their son that it's okay, because they don't know what it's about, because they are taught to also hold in their emotions, to be a tough woman. You got to be tough on your son. You can't let him see that you're emotional. This is the way you were created. You were created in that fashion. And that's why, the purpose of a male and a female creating a child, in reality, in the development of the child, gives her balance, right? Because every girl also needs to understand and have a good man in her life that shows her how to choose a man. Because if not, she's going to be attracted to the things that may not always come with the best man, right? You gotta, I got one walking around here with all this gold in his mouth and pants down and this, and he doesn't work. And so you're struggling, pulling the load, and you're like, well, he loves me. Well, see, love is defined by different ways. Men show love by being with you. Women show love by vocalizing it, right? And it's the same way. Like my daughters, I tell them, I hope that I was a great example for you to choose the men that you're going to choose to have children with, because you got to realize that no matter what you do and you have children, that's 50% of his DNA also. You may not see it in the beginning because you're raising them, but eventually that DNA is going to be like the cream. It's going to rise to the top, and it's going to pop out, and you're going to be like, oh my God, where is that coming from? And then you saw it. It was his father. You see his father now coming out, and you're like, oh my God. So we have to understand that and realize that there's a lot of, just like you all were talking about reading the labels, when you go out here in this world and try to create a child, you better read the labels. You better read the labels, right? So that's just one of those particular things that I say is very hard, and I'm really diligent in trying to get that message out and not making people feel that I'm telling them how to parent. I'm telling them that there was a commercial, and I'm going to age myself. Back in the day, it used to be a company called AMCO, AAMCO, and the horn used to blow, dun, dun, and it used to say, you can pay me now or you can pay me later, right? You can get your car fixed now, you can get your car fixed later, but you're going to pay me. And that's what's happening. You can pay me now. You can go for the goodies right now, or you can read the labels. And you could definitely get the product that you need to put in your body to create the product that's going to define and your foundation, your legacy, your name, and everything, right? So that's perfect that y'all talked about it, because I was sitting over here taking notes, telling them I'm gonna use exactly what they're talking about in our conversation. So great.
You're doing it well. You're doing it well. That's good. I was going to ask you, Yessie, I'll give you the floor, because reading those labels are key, because, them labels, like the ingredients, you're going to get some side effects. Okay. We're going to get the good side effects. What we going to get? But I wanted to ask you, just your opinion, right? If just talking to the women out there, right? If you had to tell the women who just don't know, and we need some attributes, some characteristics of what a good man, I guess I should say, what are some key characteristics that defines a good man from your perspective, a male perspective, right? Because we come in, because I've had my whole list, I've had pages and pages and pages, right? But what are some of those key characteristics that you would say define a quality, good man? He's going to be a good provider, he's going to be a good husband or a good father, or whatever. What do you think there's some things that we need to look out for when we're looking for those key characteristics in a companion?
Well, it's a sort of a loaded question, because it depends on what you're looking for, right? It depends on what you're willing to accept. First and foremost, I tell women, you first have to define how do you love yourself? How do you love on yourself, right? Because when you love on yourself, then you understand exactly what you're looking for, right? But when you're looking for something just to fill a void or a hole, you're just going to dump whatever you can in that hole to fill it, right? And so you have to really go back and look at the characteristics of how he was trained to be a man. So when you sit down with a man, instead of dating him, ask him, well, tell me about your grandfathers, fathers, mothers and fathers, mother and father's father. Tell me about that relationship. Then tell me about what the relationship with your father, what did it look like? What was the relationship between your mother and father, right? Because then you're going to see he's going to give you certain qualities, because you may say you want a man who makes a lot of money, but then that man's going to be on the road a lot. And so you may say, well, oh my God, he's worried about the money. But on one hand, you want the money, but on the other hand, you want him home. What you going to do? If he can't work remotely, then he got to be on the road to make the money. You might say, I want a man who's religiously grounded, right? But we've seen some of the worst tyrants and worst actions of people in the religious foundation, the religious sector. And so you're saying, well, okay, I may want a man who's educated, but sometimes a man who's educated thinks he knows everything. So your opinion doesn't count, right? He thinks he knows everything. But Cece, you know me, I don't think I know everything. I lean on my people to definitely get them to help me in certain situations. But then you might look at another characteristic. You might say, well, he wants children. But if he wants children, what is his involvement going to be with children, right? Is he going to really nurture in the relationship? Or is he not going to nurture in the relationship? He's going to tell you got to stay home. You might want a man. I remember this is on the tape. This is my mother told me. She says, you're never going to go into the world not knowing how to cook, clean, do everything for yourself, because I'm never going to allow you to have to depend on a woman. Right. And another side, my father said, just always stay grounded in your knowledge. Whatever you choose to do, be the best at doing that. Right. So those weren't life-changing statements, They were just statements on how you develop yourself. And like for me, I always, one of the biggest statements people say to me sometimes is that you think you better than everybody. And I said, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I always thought I was better than everybody because I figured that if I was going to be like everybody, then I would also take on their pain. I would take on their shortcomings. I would take on all of that. But if I said I was going to be the best that I could possibly be, then guess what? My standards are constantly climbing, right? Constantly climbing. I could be a pigeon or I can be an eagle, and I choose to soar. I don't choose to keep my head down on the ground looking at the crumbs. I choose to
fly,
soar.
baby, fly.
Yeah. So it's like that. It depends on what you're looking for. So I would really say to the women, and I tell them this, and this part of the workshop, is that first and foremost, tell me how you feel about yourself. When you can tell me how you love on yourself and what do you love about yourself and what are you willing to accept? What are you willing to give? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to acknowledge in the man you're looking for? What are you willing to accept from him? Do you want a white collar worker or a blue collar worker? You got to understand what comes with white collar workers, right? You got to understand what comes with blue collar workers. He may not dress the best, but you got everything on you want because of his work ethic, right? So that's where I go with it. So it's really difficult to say that, but I try to make people go back generations to talk about their relationship with their grandfathers, their fathers, their spouse's father. What is the relationship? What do you see in him or them that gives you that opportunity to establish what kind of man are you getting from the man that you're choosing to be with?
Yeah, that was definitely deep, and I'm glad that Cece asked that question, and just kind of peeling the onion a little bit deeper, going into the layer and correlating it to what you were sharing earlier about your research and your book, especially directed towards women raising a young man, a young boy, right, by themselves, a single mom. What would be some of the tips or food for thought that you would share, one or two, to those single moms who have found themselves in a situation where they've had to part ways, with the father because for whatever reason it didn't work out, and now they find themselves like, okay, there's a 2-parent household now. Here, the mom is by herself, right, raising this child. What would be some food for thought that you would share to a mother dealing with a situation like that?
I would say the first and most important thing is your communication and your communication style.
Okay.
Sometimes mothers may be angry at the father for his decision in their decision. You don't bring your child into the adult situations because they may not be able to process what actually happened. So I'm saying in your communication, how you talk to your son, talk to him as you are developing a king. Don't talk to him as a street person, right? Don't bring up on him as that, some of the biggest conversations I've ever heard from mothers is that you're just like your father. Well, define that for me, right? And then if he does still engage with his father's going to say, well, you're sorry, mother. So see, the conversation becomes very toxic. And so what does he do? He now he's in a position to process what that means at his stage and phase in life and what his knowledge base may be. That's one, I would say, communication. The other one is always praise the small things. A lot of times mothers want to act like their praising is defending. When I was a principal at a school, the biggest problem I had was the mothers running up in the school talking about anybody touch my baby, I'll turn this whole school out. No, you will not. No, you will not. And that is not the way that you get the best results you're going to get, because I used to tell them two things, and it's funny. I think it's funny now, but I used to tell them that the tie I wore was a clip-on. So snatch up on me if you want to. The tie's coming off, and I'm going to work on yourself. I'm going to work on you. I want you to know that. And then secondly, I'm going to call the police. And so if I call the police, you going to jail. Your child's going to DCF or whatever it's called. And then you got to go through the process now to get your child back for a very small misunderstanding based on you trying to protect your son, instead of coming in and finding out what the deficiency in your son's developmental development may be, right? If your child can't read, you can't come in and get mad at me because I'm asking him to read. He's at school. He should learn how to read, right? So don't get mad at me talking about why are you forcing my child to read. Well, I'm gonna tell you what was the biggest attraction of those individuals when I worked at a prison. The biggest attraction was brothers going to the library to learn how to read. And then when you look at some of those skits on comedians who talk about when brothers get out of jail, they be like, so the fallaciosis of the situation was extravagant because I was extremely agriculturally involved. And you just read a thesaurus and now you try to throw words together and don't know what they mean, because now you find it fascinating to learn how to read. But you don't know how to put the sentences together because cognitively you have not learned the sort of the sentence way, the structure, or the cognitive way to put things together, or the comprehensive way to put things together, right? So you just use words to make people impressed. But that was the biggest thing. They want to get out this cell to go to the library because I'm trying to do some research on my my case or something. And I would always ask them, why is it so important for you to learn how to read now, right? Why wasn't it important for you to read when you had the opportunity to read and be free? Why is it so important now? And so they never really gave me a solid answer. But the thing is that sometimes terrible situations put you in a predicament now to try to develop yourself. And again, find your purpose, right? Sometimes bad situations wake you up and make you go and find your purpose. But those are the two things that I would really want. Is the communication with your son and to your son, and also the way you give your son the same type of quality praise that you give your daughter, right? You teach him how to be a young adult. You don't teach him how to be a man. And that's the other one. I'm sorry. Let me get back to that. The biggest one is when a mother tells her son he's the man of the house. Oh, no. If a real man breaks up in that door, you're going to see that your son is your child, right? They're not going to run they're going to run behind you and grab onto your leg and start screaming. So you can't give him a title that he's not able to fulfill. And that's what happens. Young men come around here and say, oh, I'm the man of my house. Huh? You don't understand the responsibilities of a man. Not even the core foundations of being a man. That's some of the things that are very, very difficult that we need to change the conversations with in raising our sons. So those are a few of the things that I will be sort of sharing in a workshop that I have coming up soon. And my great colleague, the actionist, will be a part of that with me. So we're gonna change the whole concept. We're gonna change the whole complexion of some of those things. Yes.
That's amazing. Yes. So I want everybody to hold that thought, absorb everything that you've just learned right now, because we're going to go on a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere, but we'll be right back.
Dream, explore, discover. Dream, explore, discover with Nadine's Travel Oasis. Your next adventure is just a booking away. From breathtaking beaches to vibrant cityscapes, we handle the details so you can make the memories. Luxury, leisure, or last-minute getaways, we've got you covered. Book today and let Nadine's Travel Oasis take you places.
At Cab Zenza, we believe beauty is a ritual, not just a routine. Rooted in intention and inspired by nature, our skincare is crafted to nourish more than just the skin. It nourishes the spirit. Every jar is made with purpose. Because when you flourish inside, it shows on the outside. Cab Zenza's isn't skincare, soul care.
From the moment that I put this Cab Zenza on my skin, it feels most amazing. As you can see, it has your skin glistening, it's moisturizing. You too should get Cab Zenza.
Luxurious body butters.
All right, so we gave you 2 more ideas of what to get for the holidays. Reach out to Nadine's Travel Oasis to book your winter getaway today. And make sure to stay hydrated, because your skin is the largest organ, right? You don't want to walk around with dry, crackling, ashy skin. So invest in Cab Zenza today. Yes. All right. So going back to this conversation here, it's very juicy because you have a workshop coming up and it's about directed towards women raising young men. Like, tell me more, especially because Dr. Cece is going to be a part of it too. Like, I want to know more about all of this happening and when, and how can people get tickets?
Well, if the event is really going to be triggered, it's taking place in Wilmington, North Carolina, but it's really going to be triggered by, I'm a keynote address for a Martin Luther King program, which is titled The Legacy of a Good Man.
Mm.
And I'll just share a little bit of the secrets that I'm going to start off with, because most people, and I hope your audience, receives this well. Most people are always attached Martin Luther King's speech to the "I Have a Dream" speech. In reality, Martin Luther King went to Washington, D.C. to tell people normalcy no more, right? That was the real title of the speech, Normalcy No More. And he was going to tell America that you've given us a check that has been returned with insufficient funds on it. And you've done this since our inception into the country. And that was the whole thing. And so my whole purpose is that for communities who are not doing the most work they can do to sort of create a legacy of your future, that we can't be normal anymore. If you've accepted normal behavior as being failure behavior, then just think what you're doing to your legacy, right? I believe that we were all put on this earth to provide everything that the Creator has given us to the next generation, either our children, our friends, our working audience, our listening audience, anybody we come in contact with. If you come in contact with somebody, and I believe if you don't give them your best, then you're not doing the service of the Creator. And so it's really going to be on that sort of platform. And then shortly after that, we're going to start sort of the workshop. One of the things that I thought about was also incorporating a second part, having the young men apart. When we start the workshop, having the young men in an opposite room of their mothers. So when we do the exercises, we can stop and come back and have the mothers work on some of the exercises that we just taught them with their sons, instead of trying to go home. Because we know how it is when you do something, then on the way home, you may get into an argument with somebody. You may want to stop at the bar, have a few libations or something. You may want to go shopping, and then you forget the message. And when you come back, the message is watered down. So you want to make sure that you're practicing these things right with your sons right now. So I'm going to have some men who are doing workshops with the young men on the other side of the room, and the mothers on the other side, as we're teaching them how they can raise their sons. So we're going to try to do that in the Wilmington, North Carolina area sometime in January, probably early February, so that we can get it sort of launched, and then try to make this sort of a national movement, because it's very necessary on all levels for mothers to see the rewards. Y'all use that word too. Y'all use the word rewards. To see the rewards of your work. If you are put in a situation where you are a single mother, that you're going to be able to give your son the greatest opportunity to be a valuable and viable and valued citizen. And so that's what the whole purpose of this is for.
Well, I'm excited, and I cannot wait to be a part. This is just really amazing. And it's the work that needs to be done. And I know we've had conversations offline, Dr. Edwards, and, just saying, and showing, because I had to admit, even for myself, being a woman, sometimes you just got to fall back, even in your parenting, and you really have to allow each parent to carry out their role. And I know our world in America I should say, we're trying to get away from roles. We're saying, oh, the mom doesn't stay home and cook and clean and do all that, and the dad, he doesn't always go out to work. The roles can be reversed, and they can. But you know what? I'm all about roles, because roles help you. They help you to be able to identify certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm in a job, like my job description, that's a role. Okay, I got to perform this job description right to the best of my abilities, and hopefully greater, right, to make the company be a success. And all of those things. So I'm like, why are we trying to get away from the roles? Not saying that we can't, things that can't overlap, and saying that, oh, you only have to be relegated to this. No, you can grow in your roles, right? Because sometimes you have to pick up the slack. If dad is sick, then mom's going to be there kind of holding it down, and vice versa. So just kind of knowing that. But I'm all about, femininity, being a woman, knowing my role, not saying necessarily my place or whatnot, but my role and how I am to function within my family, right? And that kind of thing, how to function as a wife, how I'm to function as a mother, how I'm to, all those things. And I think that it makes life for me, and many people are kind of coming back to this now. It makes life simpler, like going back to those days of simple living. And I love that. And to not be offended when my husband says, see, Andrew, you know what, honey, I love you, but I got the lead on this. And I might not like how he handles it, but it's handled, right? And as long as the message gets across to my boys and they understand it, and it's done in love, and it's done respectfully, you know what I'm saying? And they learn the lesson. That's all I can ask for. We're all going to do things differently. But at the end of the day, when their well-being is being put first and it's being met, what more can a person ask for? So I just commend you on the work that you're doing and trying to help women understand, and also these young boys to understand their roles in society, their roles as a husband, their roles as a son, right? Those types of things. So I commend you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The question that I had for you is because everything that you're doing is so fascinating to me. And just for those meeting you for the first time, Dr. Edwards, who poured into you as a young leader that helped shape who you are today?
I would say my family. I come from a very activist family. My grandmother was very involved in the community. My mother, my father, just the people around me. I say one of the biggest contributors to me is somebody I don't even know, because I said when I was 13 years old, I tell this story often. In Orange, New Jersey, there was a what is it? It's sort of like an invitation for people to become a member of the Black Panthers. And I was ready. I said, I'm ready. I'm ready to hit these streets. And I recall my aunt saying, you better not go down there. And I said, I tell people all the time, what does that mean? That means I'm going, right? When she says, don't go, that means I'm going, right? So I went down there, and I remember all these men in the room. And that's why I'm sort of disappointed in a lot of the men, because we haven't taken on the role of warriors. And it doesn't mean that a warrior goes out and fights, but a warrior has a spirit of protection that a lot of men today don't. A lot of men are great posturers. A lot of men are great pontificators. A lot of men are great at pivoting, and they're paralyzed, but their words in a room amongst us are very tough. But when you go out into the real world, you become very passive. But anyway, this I remember him asking for people. Nobody raised their hand. And I navigated up to the front of the room, and I said, I'm ready to go. And he says, young brother, I really appreciate you. He says, but you're not ready for the front lines. He said, but one thing you can do is you can gain knowledge so that we never lose who we are. And that's what resonated with me. That's the fire that I burn from. That's the fire that burns in me about this, is because he didn't dismiss me, but he gave me a role. He gave me a role that I was going to play in my life. And so, I don't know what happened to him. I never saw him again after that. I went out there and I was excited about that. I was running. I'm like, yeah, he acknowledged me. But I mean, sometimes it's just the people that you don't know who are the people who will instill what you need to be instilled. Right. And that's what we have to do. That's why I think it's so very important. Like I go around and I see some young brother on the street, and I'm going to stop and talk to him just to let him know I see you. Right. A lot of times young brothers are never seen, and I just let them know I see you. What are you doing? How are you doing? What's going on? Talk to me. Right. And so I think that that's what the biggest thing is for me, is that I come from this family, but I'm also probably 10 times of what they instilled in me, because my fire just burns, and it burns. And I said, people say, well, when are you going to stop working? When I die. I would probably stop working when I die, because the fact is that this is what's been burning in me my whole life, and it's not going to stop. And, when I tell people what my age is, they're like, huh? They said, your energy. I said, this energy is something that is nothing to do with the chronological number that was provided to me. It has to do with what my purpose was, right? And what my purpose is. And so I do it from that perspective. And that's what it is. That's what it is for me. And, I just think people need to understand that and stop being complacent and stop being complacent and accepting normalcy. Because Dr. King said normalcy no more. We can't have it anymore. And that's what the problem is. We accepting the negative second level behavior as normal. Nah, that's not me at all. So,
right. No, I agree with you. And thank you so much for sharing. And I know you have to leave in just a few, but with that in mind, we're going to transition over to our last minute words, because this conversation is so juicy that I can keep going and going. I definitely want to be respectful of your time. And also, I would love to bring you back on after the new year, right after you've had a chance to do your workshop that you shared earlier. It's going to be in January, if I'm not mistaken. In Wilmington, right? And so for those who are interested in attending, is there like a website that they can go to buy tickets, or how does that process work? That's one. Also, how they can find you if they want to work with you, collab with you, like how does that all work to seek your mentorship, especially if young men want to seek your mentorship?
Yeah, well, the first event of that day is free. I think you can go to the YWCA Cape Fear. I guess the YWCA of Cape Fear, that's in Wilmington. But the event that day is free. And then to contact me, all you got to do is know my name. If you know my name, I don't run from that. Every social media is my name. Everything I do is based on my name, because that's what my father told me. He says, I can't give you a lot, but I can give you my name. And so I stand on that. I stand on my name. And so if anybody wants to follow me, if you know how to spell my name, Rory T. Edwards, you can find me, and if you don't believe all the stuff I'm saying right now, I tell people, Google me. You'll find it. You'll see it. I've been at this a long time. And I don't want to talk about my guy. I'm not going to say his name, but you'll know when I say it. But he said, can't stop, won't stop. That's my thing. Can't stop, won't stop.
That's right. I love that. Yes. Is it earlier when you first started the show, you were mentioning 2 projects that you're working on? It sounds like those are going to be books, right? If I'm not mistaken, are those going to be books eventually that you're going to publish?
Yeah, that's a book. And also, I have a book coming out next month, actually, and that one is titled "If America Loved Me the Same Way I Loved It from a Black Man's Eyes," and it's really about the historical journey of us, all of the sacrifices that we've made in this country, and still have love for this country, but the love is not returned from this country, and they continually try to find faults in our existence. And the sad thing is, now you're gonna give me another soapbox but I'm gonna get off it real quick. But you can't eliminate the original, right? You can't eliminate the original man. So no matter what you do, you don't have the wayworth and the bandwidth or the knowledge to eliminate the original man. And the fact is that you got to understand the original man loves you because he's still working with you. Right? Mm-hmm. We don't have any animosity in our heart. We don't have any. We want to build this country to be the best it can possibly be. But you don't want to share the wealth because you're deficient. You're deficient in your ability. And so what do? You try to bring everybody else down to your deficiency level. But that's a whole nother thing. But I do have 2 more books coming out than what I talked about. The Anatomy of a Bully. And then I have one that's coming out. That's really about my Empowered 9 therapy program, which talks about the 9 pillars of holistic healing. And so I'm coming out with that too, because people tell me for me to be the expert on it in the world, that I need to put out the information first. So if anybody hears this now and they try to rush to beat me to it, you won't. I already got most of it done, So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so that sounds like we got to stay tuned for when he comes back. We get to see and hear more about when those books are going to be released, because I'm definitely curious to know more about the anatomy of a bully, simply because we're seeing a lot more of that, especially recently. There was a bullying situation in North Carolina where a young man was stabbed and he ended up losing his life. But he was the one who was bullying the other guy. So it's really interesting. And I'm really I'm curious to read your book and understand it, because it's that's another conversation we're going to have for a different day and time. So that's a cliffhanger for you all viewers and listeners. Dr. Edwards, I know you have to leave us in the next few minutes. So any other last minute words before Cece and I take over to do our last minute words?
I would just like to say it's a wonderful thing that you all are doing, and the information that you're sharing through this platform is totally necessary. And I applaud you both for the great work that you're doing in your individual journeys. And, I just want you all to continue to do what you're doing. And I want you all to have a great holiday with your families. Just continue to build as you go through your daily things. Like you said, don't hug everybody, because some people may take that the wrong way. You hug somebody and they may think that you want to date them. So, it's just one of those things that I just think that I applaud you all for using this platform to share the message and to let people know that I definitely believe that better days are coming, because the world gets worse before it gets better. And so we're definitely going to recover from everything that is happening now. That's what I believe. So
thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm definitely looking forward to your next visit with us in the 2026 year. I can't believe that 2026 is knocking just around the corner. So wow. I hope you have a beautiful night. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you all for having me.
Thanks for being with us. Thank you, Dr. Edwards.
Right. Be well.
Wow, what a juicy, amazing conversation we have with Dr. Edwards. I know. So many questions, but I know we had a limited time, and I'm like, let me save those for next time.
He's doing some amazing things, and it's really good. And I always love talking with him, and just his energy, his way of thinking, and just I learned so many things from him. I gleaned so much, and it's an honor to know him, just as a person, as a man, as a friend. And so, I'm excited. And the whole bullying thing, I could totally relate. 4 years of high school, I was bullied. So I'm like, I definitely got to read The Anatomy of Bullying. I got to read the book, because it's something. And, I'm not sure if you heard, in Australia, as we're getting ready to sign off here, but I just heard on the radio this morning, but they're banning all things social media for people 16 years of age and under. So if you're under 16 years, they are saying you cannot have any kind of social media. So no Facebook, Instagram, none of any of the stuff, the Roblox games that they play, anything that, they say you can't have it, because they want to be able to try to have children socialize in a healthy environment without, all these predators out there that are lurking and stuff like that. But I was like, I don't know. I think it's good and I think it's bad. One is because it's like, these are people's freedoms. Like, you can't, you're the government. You're not my mom. You're not my dad. Okay. So there just has to be some personal decisions, because it always comes back to the family at the end of the day. And when people say, no, you can't have something, we just find ways to still get it. Right. So I don't know if that's really the answer. I think it needs to be, it's on the parent truly, to make sure that their kids are on appropriate sites and things of that nature. And I know we can't police our children like 24/7, 365, but I mean, they're saying that these companies, if they find out that these companies are still allowing children to have these sites, and they're going to be finding these companies and things. And I'm like, I don't think that should lie solely on the backs of these businesses, because these businesses pop up in these different social media, things to make money, right? They're trying to feed their families too, you know what I'm saying? And if someone enjoys being on a certain platform, it's really the responsibility, especially if it's a minor, it's up to the parent, truly. Right? You got to be able to educate and try to police as best you can your child to keep them safe and things of that nature. I do believe that every company should always take some responsibility, but I think that people are just going a little too far. So I just heard that today. And so the rest of the world is kind of watching this scientific experiment going on in Australia, so to speak, to see if it's going to work and to see if they want to implement this into their country. So it may be coming to America. Who knows? I don't know. But it's just interesting. It's very interesting.
That is interesting. And I'm glad you shared that, because it triggered my brain to bring up the topic that we recently talked about, which was birth control, right? Normalizing the whole birth control at a young age. And I was having conversation recently about this with a few friends, and just kind of picking people's brains to just get an understanding, like what should I be considering because I want to bring this proposal to the Senate, right? Because this is serious to me. More and more stories are popping up about child abuse, child deaths, infant deaths. And I'm like, why are these people having kids if they can't even take care of their kids? And it correlates to your story about children in a way where it's like, if we have two options here, you're a parent, right? So option one is putting your child on birth control and making sure that they are mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically able to, at 18 or older or whatever, when they're able to make their own decisions, to have a child. Alternatively, if you decide that your child is not going to go on birth control, then if they end up pregnant, that's your responsibility. That means that you can't rely on the government. You can't rely on this and this and that, because you had the choice to opt into birth control, right? And so with that in mind, that means that you as a parent are mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically able to take care of a grandchild, because you decided that you wanted your child to have freedom, understanding that most teenagers are out here having sex, right? That's just the majority of them are. That's just the reality. I see and talk to other parents. I was a teenager. You were a teenager. We saw that in high school. It's one of those realities. And so correlating that to what you were sharing with the schools, a lot of that happens, and influences are because of the social, also because they're trying to impress somebody, also because it's just so many layers and factors. So just wanted to share that as food for thought, and hopefully somebody that can make a difference can think about that and ponder on that, to make that decision, to have more accountability on the parent or the leader or the adult in the group, especially because we're seeing more and more cases of these young kids having kids, and they have no business having kids.
And this is a good topic. We definitely got to get into this a little, because it's multifaceted. Because we always have our pros and our cons, and I can see some flaws in that, though, Yessie. With that. And it's definitely something to talk about, because these are conversations truly that we need to have. We got to figure out something, and you just have people that just don't care, and they don't care anything about having babies and how that play. I think children and parents. Well, I think parents do a disservice in educating their children about, because people just tend to think like it's just my family in my four walls. Like these are the only people that's affected is my family. And that's not true. We are a community. Our country is a community. And so what I do will affect the next person that doesn't live inside of my four walls, but the people that live outside of my four walls as well. Because if I'm at home and I'm sitting home and I'm drinking and I decide to go out and drive while I'm, at home drinking, but now I'm getting in my car, does that not affect all the people around me? You see, so we're all connected, and it's our responsibility to show our families, like we have to take the ownership of every single person that is around us. We have to look out for our fellow man, because we are truly all family, truly at the end of the day, right? Like we got to come together as a people and look out for that person that may not look like you or speak like you, have a different background, different culture, all that kind of stuff. We got to look out for those people. And that's where the disconnect is. Like, I'm just going to worry about my four and no more. It's like, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't, right? Because if I was just only concerned with that, we wouldn't have people working in our country to get homeless people off the street, to get, food in people's bellies. We wouldn't have created, lunch programs for children to be able to have meals, to be able to eat, because sometimes that's the only meals that they get. You see, because these are all social issues, but it's a community issue at large. And if just you, me, people like us, if we just take the ownership and say, hey, if I see someone homeless on the street and I have a little bit of extra cash or food or whatever, how about I take that person to go get something to eat? Or how about I give them that cash? What I do, and I've shared this before, I make sure in my car, and this is just something God put on my heart, but I always make sure I have cash in my little wallet thing in my car, because I'm anticipating seeing a homeless person on the street. And if I do, at least I have $5, $10, $20 I can give it to that person. You know what I'm saying? I have to be wise in who I'm giving it to, because some people you can kind of like that. I see them smoking and drinking, and I don't want to support those habits, and I don't really want to get into all of that. But just out of the goodness of my heart, if I see someone out there struggling, trying to make it, and I have a few extra bucks, that's intentional. That's me taking care of my community. You see what I'm saying? It's not my porn no more. It goes outside of the walls. And so we have to be able to go out and do the work to be able to help our fellow man. And people do have to take responsibility, because no one wants to take responsibility. The parent will be like, oh, she was just fast, or he was just too grown and got somebody pregnant. Now it's on them. Let them, and it's like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely another conversation for another day, because I really, and I'm doing research just on my own, because this is a topic I'm really passionate about, just being a parent, right? And I have a really soft spot for just when these stories pop up on my news break, or when I'm looking at social media, just seeing the high amount of child abuse and child neglect, and these poor innocent kids getting hurt, and then they're going to grow up to hurt other people because that's what they learned, similar to what Dr. Edwards was sharing, the bullying, right? The anatomy of a bully, it starts technically from the house, and so it just, all that just correlates. And that's why I'm really fascinated to really read his book, because of that too, because it's like, there's a correlation between the way a child is raised in the home and how they are going to go out into the environment.
Absolutely.
So, hey, that's the cliffhanger for you all. That's definitely another conversation for another day and time. I know this is exciting. This is why I love Hoy En Día, because we always talk about some deep conversations. Our mission is to positively motivate, enlighten, educate, inspire, and entertain you, the viewer and listener. And I know we did that today. And so, Cece, what are your last minute words for our viewers today?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as always, inspire for purpose and girls with gigs. I'm Ciandra, the actionist, right? Getting you clear about your fears so you can move forward, right? You got to have some strategies, have some things in place so we don't stay stuck, right? We don't want to stay stuck. We want to move into 2026 doing something different, and not a resolution, y'all. Forget about the resolutions. Throw that. That's like so last year, right? So like, 20th, 19th century. That's what that is going on. We don't need any of that. It's just time to really put our feet one in front of the other and move forward and be able to execute. It's all about execution this year. I know a lot of us have gotten kind of tired and we're just kind of giving up and think that there's no hope. There's always hope. So when you begin to feel like you don't have any hope, I want you to look yourself in the mirror and give yourself a pep talk and say you matter, because you do, right? Because you're staring back at yourself in that mirror, and you got to know that you matter because you're still here. I had to do that just today, just driving down the road in my car, and I had to give myself a little pep talk and get rid of all the voices that are saying, oh, you're nothing. And, because that happens all the time to each of us, right? And you begin to doubt yourself. Imposter syndrome begins to set in. And so you have to tell like those voices, those naysayers, like, no, I am somebody. I am going to make it. I'm going to go into this next year different. I'm going to execute on all the things that I have. I've done that this year, you all. I put on my board here, on my work board, my goals, right, for 2025, because I want to leave December strong. Now, we're already technically in the new year, right, by the Hebrew calendar, but the Gregorian calendar is going to come in on January 1, right? So we're moving on, right? So I put my goals on the board, and I got to tell you, when you write it down, those things come to life. And I've achieved just about all of those goals. I had a goal on there to pay off 2 credit cards, and ended up paying off all of my credit cards except 1. I am so excited. I'm like, yes, execution, right? So do that. Make sure you just put one foot in front of the other. And as I always love to say, love and light and inspire for purpose.
Wow, amazing. Well, congratulations on paying those credit cards off, because that's not an easy task, but you did that because you stayed focused, determined, and you kept pushing. And that's what you have to do. Anybody, viewers and listeners, stay dedicated, focus, keep pushing, and you can do it. You can do it for sure. We're going to jump over to 2 more sponsors that we have, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Sponsored by Collective Wear. Available at www.yessierodriguez.com/shop and myrod-enterprise.com/shop.
Sponsored by Divine Beauty and Accessories. Watch Hoy En Día TV, Thursday, 7:30 p.m.
All right, so Collective Wear and Divine Beauty and Accessories can be found on my website, yessierodriguez.com. Also, Collective Wear does collective custom wear, custom shirts like the one I have on Hoy En Día TV. So if you have a business, if you have a, let's say, a large birthday gathering or party, I don't know, something creative. Let's say wedding. If you have a wedding party, if you have, what are the family reunions? Just anything that you can think of where you need shirts custom made. We got you. Collective Wear got you. So reach out to Collective Custom Wear. Reach out to me or go on my website, yessierodriguez.com. All right. And so for those who want to find me and follow me, just Google Yessie Rodriguez. My social media handles will pull up. Also Google Hoy En Día TV podcast. There'll be a list of where you can find us. You can also go on my website, yessierodriguez.com. On the left-hand side, you're going to see a section where it says Hoy En Día. Select that, and then you can also find that drop-down where you can hear us, all the past episodes of Hoy En Día TV, because we have some juicy conversations here that really stimulate your mind and get you thinking. We talk differently here because it's about life and lifestyle. That is the niche, life. And you know, with life, there's all shades and colors, ups and downs, the whole shebang here. So that's what Hoy En Día is. It's about life. Cosas de la vida, los temas de la vida. Hablamos aquí un show bilingüe. We talk Spanglish. Like we have a guest coming up next week that we're going to be speaking Spanglish because the mom speaks primarily Spanish. The daughter speaks primarily English. But that's what Hoy En Día is. We're Spanglish. We make it work, right? Thank you all for tuning into another amazing episode of Hoy En Día TV. And God bless you all. Until next time.